Hey everyone, we're about to dive into something that shapes pretty much every single part of your day, but you probably don't think about it much. We're talking about public administration. Yeah, I know, sounds a little dry, but trust me, it's the invisible engine that keeps our whole society running. And today, we're gonna pop the hood and see how it all works.
So, have you ever wondered who actually decides where your tax money goes? Or, how that new park in the neighborhood suddenly appears? The answer to all of that is public administration. So, yeah, it's pretty important. Let's get right into the basics. All right, first things first, let's nail down what we're even talking about. Public administration might sound like a stuffy textbook term, but its impact on your life, oh, it's about as real and direct as it gets. Okay, so here's the bottom line. Public administration is the doing part of government. You see, politicians and lawmakers, they can dream up policies and pass all the laws they want. But it's the public administrators, we're talking city managers, department heads, all those public servants. They're the ones on the ground with a massive job of turning all those abstract ideas into real, tangible services that you and I use every single day. Now, one of the best ways to really get what makes public administration so unique is to put it side by side with its cousin from the private sector, what most of us just call business. I mean, they both involve management, right? But what they're trying to achieve, well, they're on completely different planets. And this chart right here, it just lays it all out so clearly. Look, a private company, its main goal is profit. Simple. It answers to its shareholders, and success is all about the bottom line, revenue. But switch over to public administration. The goal is the public good. The accountability, it's to us, the citizens. And success? Phew, that's measured in these much more complex, trickier things like equity, justice, and social stability. Think about it like this. Launching a new soda is all about winning in the market. But making sure every single person in a city has clean, safe drinking water, that's not about profit. That's about a fundamental human right. And here's something you gotta understand. This field is not stuck in the past, not at all. As our society changes, public administration has had to change right along with it, constantly adapting its playbook to meet new challenges. And you can actually see this evolution happen in a few distinct ways. So way back in the day, the big idea was to create a government that was like a perfect machine, super hierarchical, ruthlessly efficient, and totally neutral. But then the 60s and 70s hit, and this whole movement called New Public Administration came along and said, whoa, hold on, that's not enough. Government can't just be an efficient machine. It has to be actively working to make society fairer, to promote social equity, and to actually listen to its citizens. And today, it's evolved even further. The big focus now is on networks, on collaboration between government and private groups, and on actually measuring real-world performance to see if what we're doing is working. Okay, so underneath all this theory and history and evolution, what's at the absolute core? It all comes down to one critical function: making decisions. This is the moment where abstract policy ideas crash right into the messy, complicated reality of the real world. I really love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. A decision in the business world might affect a product line, right? But a decision in the public sector, man, that can impact millions of lives. So administrators have to think about more than just what's the best choice. They have to figure out how to build a path that everyone can and will actually use. And this decision-making, it's not just a gut feeling. It's not random. It actually follows a pretty clear, structured process. You start by figuring out exactly what the problem is. Then you analyze all the different ways you could solve it. Crucially, you consult with everyone who has a stake in the outcome, the stakeholders. Only then do you make the choice, put it into action, and then, and this part's really important, you circle back and evaluate it to see if it actually did what it was supposed to do. But here's the real kicker. None of it, happens in a neat little bubble. A public administrator can have the most brilliant plan in the world, but everything can be shaped or maybe even totally derailed by what's going on right outside their office door. The experts have a name for this. They call it the ecological system. It's kind of a fancy way of saying that public administration is deeply, deeply tangled up in its environment. The political winds, the state of the economy, what we as a society value, all of these things create the atmosphere, the context, that ultimately determines whether a policy is going to fly or just crash and burn. And it makes total sense when you think about it, right? I mean, imagine you have a fantastic policy to boost green energy. Great idea. But is it going to work during a huge economic recession when people are worried about jobs? What if the political climate is just completely hostile to it? Or what if the technology just isn't quite there yet? You see,
All of these outside forces have to be carefully navigated for any public program to have a shot at success. All right, so we've covered a ton of ground. What's the big, crucial point to take away from all this?
First off, this is the engine. It's the essential machinery that turns government ideas into stuff that actually works in our daily lives. Second, its whole reason for being is fundamentally different from a business. It's driven by service, not by sales. Third, it's not some dusty old set of rules. It's a living, breathing field that has to keep changing with the times. And finally, and maybe most importantly, context is everything. No decision is ever made in a vacuum.
And all of that leaves us with this one huge, fascinating question to chew on. In a world as complex as ours, a world full of competing needs and not enough resources, is it even possible for public administration to be perfectly efficient and perfectly fair at the same time? That right there, that is the central, never-ending challenge of public administration. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.